you've climbed Mount Everest. You've climbed the mountains. Um, so I want you, if you can, you describe kind of. I want to start there. I want to start, in your video. If you go to your webpage, one of the things you say is, I've climbed. If you can climb a mountain, you can do anything. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yes.
So I want to start there. So the discipline, the fortitude, the mindsets of climbing Mount Everest. One lesson you learned about yourself.
Okay, John, thank you for having me on. There's a proverb that says, wherever the stream flows, it never forgets its source.
Mm.
My source is my late grandmother. And there's a link between her and Everest. But she was an amazing woman. She had 9 biological children in the country of Guyana, South America. But in spite of the limited resources that she and my granddad had, they found room in their hearts to adopt 5 young sisters who lost their moms. So my grandmother raised 14 children. I'm second oldest of 7. And
Wow.
as a result, I am one of 52 grandchildren.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
But as we speak here today, I can assure you and your audience that I was her favorite.
Yeah. So I didn't know your great grandmother, but something tells me she kind of secretly told that to all 52 of you. Yeah.
She made us all feel
Yeah.
super loved. And she learned to read and write from reading the King James Version of the Bible because she had very little schooling. She would hold my hands, look at me, and she would say, Grace, you have lengthened my years and you have blessed my eyesight. So Shakespearean of her to say that, but
That's so beautiful.
so beautiful, but her most treasured words to me were, believe beyond your limits.
Mhm.
See, my grandmother knew that in planning goals and dreams, you should never look at your circumstances.
Yeah.
That your mission in life is way beyond the capacity of your current circumstances and your current environment. And she knew how to dream big.
Yeah.
Belief beyond your limits is a theme that really dominated my life. And as I climb mountains, and I have climbed over 25 mountain peaks on 3 continents, and as I climb mountains, I think of those words. They have propelled me.
Yeah.
Not about my strength, it is about how I think of each and every step that I take.
Wow. That's powerful. I want to talk about, moving beyond limits and never looking at your circumstances.
Mhm.
Um, I usually like to kind of interview and guide and kind of play off of what you just said, but there's so much to your story I want to bring out that, never look at your circumstances. On the video on your homepage, you talk about that you were working while living in a shelter, and that there was more, and I think I'm getting this quote correct, more love in our house than there was food.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of expand on this, never look at your circumstances, and your grandmother's words of dreaming big, and, beyond your, dreaming beyond any limits. you know, I would imagine that the level of getting back to center during those very difficult times, it's easy to talk about it now, but take us back to when you really had to grind out that thought.
So, absolutely. So, I'm from immigrant parents. We came to this country. I was 14 years old when we settled in Brooklyn, New York. I went to high school called Tilden High School. Interestingly, John, it was the same high school where both Al Sharpton and Larry King graduated from.
Mhm.
So here I'm in this high
This
school.
podcast is based on Larry King. He was my favorite.
Oh, wasn't he? He's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Just so interesting. When my first day of high school, I got an aptitude test. And at the end of the test, they said, look, you can major in either Spanish or accounting. And I was like mystified. Didn't do everything was in English, and also, I didn't know what accounting was. But I'm always drawn to the unknown and learning, and what seems the most complicated intrigues me. So I majored in accounting, and I got a perfect score on the Regents, and the head of my accounting was also a professor at Pace University, downtown New York City. That's where I went. I was commuting back and forth from Pace to our home in Brooklyn. And once again, we're an immigrant family. We're struggling. There was really more love than food in our home. My mom, who was a housewife, she decided to go to college, and she was working. She was determined that we would not be in welfare, that uh, she would really work to really support us. She and my dad. So we were really pushing through, and with a strong focus on education.
Yeah.
So
What do you learn observing your parents in that way? I mean, I'm sure they had. It sounds like your family had amazing, wisdom to share and things of that nature. But I think a lot of times we learn more from watching versus only what they say. And so, as you sat back as a child and immigrants coming to Brooklyn, New York, what was shaping your life as an observer?
yes, as an observer, one of the first things I observed as a child coming from a large family was how loved and protected I felt. As I was always in someone's arms as my uncles would come in and out of the house. I was always well fed, well clothed. And one of the first examples my mom gave me was she would sew the clothes, Sunday clothes of me and my sister. We'd always have beautiful buttons and frills and all of this. And we were downtown in the shopping area, and we looked outside of the store and the department store, the major department store, and we were looking at little children's dresses. And she said to me, now I'm only about 6 at this time. She looked at me, she said, Grace, I can do this. And the next day, she brought in the clothes that she made for me and my sister and the hangers, and she showed the head of the store, the store owner. He looked at it, and believe you me, the next month it was my mother's clothes that she
Wow.
made that they were displaying. That's how she started. She showed me entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Was so powerful in demonstrating, here is a dream, I'm going to pursue it and literally show you how execution and success is
Yeah.
in front of a 6-year-old. So that the
Love
power
it.
of her example
Yeah.
was super amazing to me.
Yeah.